What's happening, folks of the interwebs? It's Pete with Backdraft Bikes, and today we're going to drive the 2023 Indian Cheif 116 Sport. Stick around. So here we are with the brand new offering from Indian in their Cheif line, and this is the Cheif Sport. It's got a new engine that's been revamped for this model slightly. Not by much, but a little bit. Big engine, small frame, and a lot of sport features. Really good brakes, dual front Brembos. It's belt drive, remote reservoir Fox shocks, completely adjustable on the back, and just a really cool looking bike. They're going after the sport cruiser in the air-cooled market. It's 116 cubic inch. They don't really advertise the horsepower on this, but it is about 90 horsepower. Really innovative gauge set as well, including built-in GPS. So let's take this thing for a ride, shall we? All right. Forward controls. The bike weighs about 570 pounds. It's got a one-touch ignition too, which I thought was kind of interesting. Look at that. It's got all the goodies, and again, this gauge, I don't know if you can see it, but it has so many different things, including GPS built in, which is super cool. I'm going to put it on the tack because I really want to watch the performance on this. It's got a cool aftermarket, well, factory aftermarket looking air cleaner. And again, I've been a fan of the Chieftain models because of the balance that they have. For a bigger bike, it's kind of awesome. I'm going to let this warm up just a little bit. Now, I wouldn't say the controls are super forward, but they are forward a little bit. So it's not, they're not underneath me, they're not way, way forward. Definitely cruiser-esque. Really smooth, and I've always liked Indian's balance that they show. I mean, they just do a nice job with the balance. I don't know what is going on with these guys. I've been following them for like 10 minutes. Harley Davidsons. There we go. So I am 6'4", big, pretty tall guy, and 35-inch inseam. This bike being a smaller platform, I always get a little nervous on the cruisers. Boy, this thing handles really good. Wow. But I got plenty of room in this, and actually a little pitched a little bit forward with the seat position. It's kind of nice. And I love the fact that there isn't this mega huge windshield in front of me, but I'm kind of open to experience the elements. That's awesome. Beautiful day for a ride, not hot or anything. Man, this bike rips. It's got torque right off the line, like you'd expect from a huge V-twin. It's pretty quiet though. It'd be cool to get some aftermarket pipes on this thing and really brap it. Let's go. Wow. Oh, man. Indian, I love you long time. Indian has really been doing a good job with the refining of their cruiser bikes, and if you watch my channel at all, you'll know I'm a big fan of the Chieftain and the Cheif models. I do like the Scouts, but they're just a little too small for my liking, and it's probably because I'm a big guy and everything, but they just seem a little harsh and a little rigid. This bike feels great. It's not too big, not too small, but it has a lot of power. A lot of power. I'm in the standard mode. We'll click it into sport mode when we get back to the back side of the track and we can crack her open again, find out what she's got. But just in the standard mode, it really does feel good. And I love the riding position. I really do. If you can imagine, it's kind of in the middle of like a braked out cruiser and a upright riding position. I like the combo. Okay, this corner right here is about 120 degrees. The lean angle on this bike is actually pretty nice, but it's easy to scrape, obviously. There's the police doing their jobs. The demo route on the road here is less than eventful because it's 35 miles an hour, but it gives you a really nice sense of the bike's performance on riding, because there is some bumps and such along the way, which makes it nice to kind of get a feel for how the bike would handle on a large trip. The thing that I think I've been most impressed with the Chieftain line is just the quality of the fit and the finish, and the fact that the bike, even though it's on the heavier side of things, like I said, this one's 570 pounds, it's very manageable. It's not bad at all. So this is a pretty bumpy section, and this is, labeled as a sport model. So I will tell you, the suspension is a little bit on the tighter side so far, but not bad, and very comfortable on the riding position. I really do like this. One of the first bikes I rode from Indian that I really, really liked, that struck a chord with me, was the Darkhorse. I just like the raked out, murdered, easy to ride bike, and the size of the bike obviously was huge, but it didn't feel like you were really riding a large bike. So this bike, they're building on that power plant, the 116, but they've got it on a smaller chassis, so that's kind of neat, kind of reminiscent of taking a car and swapping a motor, something with a big power plant. I like it. Just while I'm just cruising along, I don't know if you can see the gauge, but it works with gloves. It's great. Again, I love the built-in GPS. I love the fact that everything is built into a gauge like this, because you don't, I have a BMW, and you've got a big, huge bike screen, and you've got your GPS screen, and you kind of lose that motorcycle feel. It kind of feels like you're driving in a car with a big dashboard. So I like the small one. There's 4 buttons. Like, there's a back button that will get you back to your home. There's one that has quick buttons for, if your phone's hooked to this, you can control your music. They have ride modes. You can push that. It tells you all about, your EPA gas mileage estimates based on what you have for a tank. So it's pretty decent. One thing I do like, though, about this bike is that it has 3 different ride modes. It does not have an eco mode. What it has is a tour mode, a standard mode, and a sport mode. And again, everything, including the turn signal indicators, are on this multifunction display, which is kind of cool. It's pretty slick, though. It really is. I'm gonna go by this guy. He's just going really slow. Now, with the sport mode, we'll click this on. The suspension on this is not something that is adjustable on the fly like the electronic suspensions that we see, sometimes on bikes. This is just a simple, cruiser bike with some really good technology, but it's traditional suspension with a sport touch with the Fox remote reservoirs is kind of nice. Changing the rebound and the dampening on this bike will obviously change the way it feels a lot. And I always talk about it up here in the Northeast, where the roads are super duper bumpy. There's always a fine line between I want to ride a sport bike versus I'm trying to ride a bike that's comfortable. You have a bike with a suspension that's super duper tight, it's very difficult to handle the bumps. So this bike feels good though. It has a nice feel as far as being a heavier, medium-sized bike, right? It's got a nice feel that you can easily corner it. And again, there's a few corners we've already been through that we demonstrated that on a little bit. The lean angle's good. There's really very little counter steering you have to do on this bike. It wants to go into the corner. With the sport mode activated though, I can tell you what, drive-by-wire, this, yeah, she's twitchy, she is. There is a passenger pillion seat, if you will, built into this one. I'm not sure how well that would work as far as having a passenger, but it's almost stadium style because the back seat is a little higher than the front. And the front's got that scoop to it, so I feel myself kind of pushed into the back of it. So that's kind of nice. You're not going to go anywhere, you're firmly planted. But again, this bike is very easy to flick and nimble. So fast motor, really torquey, and having a good handling platform is refreshing. I like that. Comparing this over onto the Harley Davidsons that I've ridden, I don't know if I would directly compare this to the Sportster S because that's a liquid-cooled 130-something horsepower deal. But this bike here gives a nice feel, and I kind of want to compare it to a Fat Bob almost, or maybe a Street Bob, maybe one of those two models. It's kind of, it feels like it's in the same platform, and you know, about the same size. But I'll tell you, the handling on this bike is way better. It is totally different than those bikes, totally different. And I have to say this, but even in the sport mode, this bike is really snappy. So very nice. All right, well, let's get onto the back of the track and we'll see how this thing does as far as performance goes. Just gonna get by the old lady's house here in the back entrance to the speedway, and then we'll be able to try it out. Self-canceling turn signals too. It's kind of a nice touch. With sport mode, this thing gets pretty violent. You can feel the difference. In the standard mode, the throttle almost had a slight delay to it when you rolled in. So this is nice. This is a little different. I like it. And again, for being a sport bike, the suspension on this bike isn't all that awful either. It's not a harsh ride whatsoever. It is a little on the stiff side, but again, you kind of want that on a sport bike. That's what you're going for in the sport cruiser category. Here we go, ready? Full throttle. Wow. Launch me. Yeah. Oh yeah. Woo! Talk to me, baby. Yikes. Wow, that bike's got some juice. Well, I think this is going to be my newest favorite in the sport cruiser lineup, especially from Indian. I think Indian's got me sold on one of these things. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you have one of these bikes? Have you ridden it? Is this the new Harley killer? I mean, I don't think it would take much to do that at this point. Man, fast bike, handles great. Leave a comment down below and let me know, and appreciate your subscribing to the channel. It helps me out. As always, ride safe.